EarnIt India is an autonomous scientific institution under aegis of DAITI, Ministry of Communications and IT, Government of India, having nationwide terrestrial and satellite network, providing internet and intranet services as part of its ISP operations, running on dual stack. And it has done so from past more than half a decade. May I now request Shri Praveen Mishra, Additional Director, EarnIt, and Srimati Nirmal Marwa, Joint Director, EarnIt, to bring all our delegates to this dais and make this a very momentous day for all of us and especially for IPv6. Shri Thiru T.K. Ramachandran, IAS, Secretary, Information Technology, Tamil Nadu. Shri H.R. Mohan, President, Computer Society of India. Professor K.R. Srivatsan, Director, Chinmaya Institute of Technology, Kerala. Dr. Neena Pahuja, DG, EarnIt India. We are very privileged to have Professor S.V. Raghavan amongst us to grace this occasion through VC. We would now like to express our gratitude to our esteemed guests, and what better way than with flowers? Flowers in which we can feel the Mother Earth bestowing her love and blessings on us. I would now request Dr. Neena Pahuja, ma'am, to welcome Shri Thiru T.K. Ramachandran. Sir. Shri Praveen Mishra, to welcome Shri H.R. Mohan. Srimati Nirmal ma'am, to welcome Professor K.R. Srivatsan. Friends, we all are gathered here today for IPv6 workshop. IPv6 is the successor of IPv4 that offers trillions and trillions and trillions of IP addresses, so much so that we can even assign our coffee maker its own very own global address. With the global explosion of internet and the exponential growth of IP-based devices, the need for more IP addresses was felt, and a new protocol, that is IPv6, was devised, taking into account the challenges the present V4 faces and the expectation and the promises the future of networking holds. Hence, IPv6 is truly the future of networking for the welfare of mankind. Now, I call upon Dr. Neena Pahuja, DG, EarnIt India, to welcome all of you. Dr. Neena Pahuja ma'am has EarnIt, which as a project brought internet to India. With extensive experience of over 28 years, which is of course even more than my age, she has undisputed prowess and experience of software development, consulting and healthcare. She, as a CIO of MEX Healthcare Group, has actively supported landscape of electronic health records, mobility and big data in healthcare, and worked on large number of ERP and supply chains. Now I call upon DG ma'am.
Thank you. Very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome our chief guest, Professor Raghavan, who's going to shortly join us on the VC. Principal Secretary, Mr. Ramachandran, Professor Srivatsan, who's been actually a guide for us, a mentor for EarnIt, Shri Mohan and Deepak, who's there, and delegates and media and everybody. IIT Madras is a beautiful campus. It's my first visit to IIT Madras campus. And I've possibly not seen such a beautiful green campus actually in my life. I am a IIT Delhi product. I think it's more of a, it's more of a kind of a city campus that we have in IIT Delhi, but IIT Madras campus, and I don't know, I think there are a lot of people from IIT Madras here. I think you people are all blessed to be in such a beautiful campus, green campus actually, and you're living within the nature. So I think I enjoyed my morning drive from the entry of this campus to this place, this auditorium. IPv6, I think this is a new buzzword that we're going to be talking about throughout the day today. It's great that we have this wonderful audience, and I see there are a lot of people who are also still registering, I think, for IPv6. So we'll have a little more audience also gathering here. Why IPv6? Today, all of us know about internet, and which started almost 25 years back. I remember when I went back to do my PhD at IIT Delhi, internet had just begun, and that's when I started working in EarNet Labs. And I don't know whether some of you actually got associated with EarNet Labs earlier. EarNet is the one who actually started the concept of internet in IITs, and it went on to all the institutes and so on and so forth. So 25 years back, when we used to work on internet, it was a very simple internet that we had. I actually used to do telnet, to wherever I wanted to do FTP, etc. So there were very few things that I could do at that time. And while some of us, and I'm sure there are some people who've done their PhDs, and there were times I used to log in from home and log into the IIT computers and also do telnet and do whatever transformation had to be done to my reports and papers and present them. But that was the early stage of internet. But certainly it had changed by the time I think I went there also, which is a couple of years back. Unlike people who did PhD before, 10 years before I did, people used to survive in the libraries to get the research papers. But when I went on to do PhD, half of my papers, at least the literature survey, was done on the internet at that time also. So I could actually go down to the libraries of, some of the libraries or the papers of the computer science departments of various universities globally and download the papers. So I had access to the latest research which was happening at that time also, which is almost 15, 18 years back. And now, of course, it's changed. So from 18 years, 25 years to 18 years to, I think, what we're trying to do, most of us don't even go to the library to get the latest research papers actually. Everything is available on the internet. We are able to get it, and we also have social media papers, etc., which have come in. All of us use Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, etc., to be able to be connected to people. So this is the wave of internet too, which has already begun now. But what is the world going on to, and why are we talking IPv6? The world is moving towards a wave of IPv6 and Internet 3 is what I call it, where anything to anything is going to be connected. You're going to have not only yourself connected with another computer, you may have something like an ECG device on a moving ambulance connected to a remote center, and so on and so forth. So people are going to be connected. So it's a new network which is coming in, which is network of anything to anything. Like Prerna just mentioned, even a coffee maker may have an address, which means before you reach home and you want your water to be boiled in your coffee maker, you might be able to do it remotely from your mobile. Look, do that. Or you want to start your microwave or a rice maker, while you start for your house from office, you might be actually able to start the rice maker and have the hot rice by the time you reach your house. We've all heard about cars getting controlled. There's a lot of work happening globally on remote car controls, etc., which is a reality which has started happening. I hope you people realize that why am I talking about this, which is going to happen in this particular workshop, because all these cars and the coffee makers and the ECG devices, everything needs a unique address to be controlled like that. Today, why we are not able to do that in a big way is because most of these devices don't have a unique address, which is what we're looking for. And that's why we're here. So what do we need to do? We need to move towards this new wave of IPv6. So what is IPv6 giving us? It's giving us actually a borderless cyberspace. With IPv4 also we were doing it, but it's going to grow a little more. I don't know how many of you were associated with the Y2K wave. Any hands? So there are some people I see who were associated with the Y2K. I was personally associated in the Y2K wave also, and I saw companies actually doubling up their revenues during the during the Y2K wave. What was the Y2K wave? We had to move on to the, the 4-digit format of the Y2K, of the year when this Y2K wave came in. There was so much of work done, all programs had to be modified, everything had to be modified. Personally, I feel IPv6 is going to be a bigger wave than that. Because when Y2K wave came, which is 1999, 98, 99, 2000, there was computerization, but there was not so much of computerization. The computerization which has happened today is enormous. So personally, I feel that, almost every office, every education department, every school would possibly go through this transformation of moving towards IPv6 over a period of time. And that's why we're having these workshops, so that we start educating everyone on how big it is, what are the steps that need to be done on moving towards IPv6. And really propagate the message. What is EARNET doing here? EARNET is actually, as was mentioned, is a nodal agency of DATE for IPv6 movement. We also have similar agencies as part of DOT, but as part of DIT, which is DATE, in fact, Department of Electronics and Information Technology, EARNET is doing this particular job. And as part of this, we also plan to conduct a lot of courses in IPv6 and also have certification courses, what we are planning as the next stage, so that we have capacity building for IPv6 movement. We're going to have a full day session on IPv6. We have a lot of people here, and we're going to also have a hands on it. I hope some of you are carrying a laptop to do that hands on also. That is planned during the day, which actually will give you a little concept of what you need to do there. Some of the things which I would urge you while you go on to the session of today is, it's not just about numbers. So you're not just moving an IPv4 number to an IPv6 number. There's more that needs to happen. Typically, some of the things that you really need to be bothering about is the information, the security part of it. When you move to IPv6 or a dual stack, which we'll talk about over a period of day to day, a lot of things will stop working. Because if there is any hard coding in an application, okay, of a IPv4 kind, that'll stop working because it needs to be moved, right? Also, your information security systems would need really a look at whether they are supporting the IPv6 kind of a setup or not. We are not saying we are moving completely to IPv6. We'll be moving towards a dual stack which has IPv4 and IPv6. But I really do some of the sessions that we planned in the next part, which is on information security and how it's going to impact you, because it's not going to be this straightforward that you just change the number. Your all applications are going to change. So I think there is a lot that you all need to do to get onto this wave. I would also urge you to pass on this message and learnings that you have today with colleagues, so that more workshops can be done by whomsoever. But I think this message of moving to IPv6, what needs to be done to do that, has to be spread across, is what I'd urge you to do. So I thank you all for coming here. I wish you all have a wonderful day. If you people have any questions post today's session, you're most welcome to reach out to EARNET, any one of my team members or us, for any further queries. We also are planning to start a large number of projects in terms of assessment of IPv6 and also some projects on even transformations of IPv6. So there's panel work happening. First on education, which is the kind of workshop that we're doing today, capacity building in terms of programs where we'll do training, assessment of state network, where we'll do the assessment, transformation of the network. So there's panel work happening in all areas. If you have any questions, any queries, you can always reach out to EARNET. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you. Okay, wonderful. So we have Professor Raghavan, who has joined us on VC. In this beautiful campus of IIT Madras, actually, Professor Raghavan doesn't need an introduction. I think people like us need an introduction. He doesn't need an introduction. He is the principal scientific advisor. He's scientific secretary, Office of Principal Scientific Advisor in Government of India. But I think more is that he has been a professor at IIT Madras, and I think almost everyone that I know of in IIT Madras recognizes and knows about Professor Raghavan. I welcome him on board. I think it's wonderful to have him here. And he's one person who's also helping us to drive this concept of IPv6. And he wanted this session at IIT Madras because I think he wants this happening, and people getting educated here. So welcome, sir. It's wonderful to have you on VC. We would have loved if you had joined us in person. We are really missing that, but great to have you on VC, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for your kind words. May I now request Sri Praveen Mishra, Additional Director, ARNET, to escort the distinguished dignitaries on the dais to kindly light the ceremonial lamp to formally inaugurate the session. Light, the God's eldest daughter, gives of itself freely, filling all available space. It does not seek anything in return. It asks not whether you are friend or foe. It gives of itself and is not thereby diminished. This is what we seek from this lamp. Lighting the dark areas of this world with pristine selflessness. This light shall also remove all the darkness from IPv4 and bring into light in the IPv6. Thank you all. Now let us embark upon the path of IPv6. Shri H.R. Mohan, President, CISI, has held various positions such as MC Member, Treasurer, Secretary, Vice Chairman and Chairman at the CSI Chennai chapter. He chaired Publications Committee and currently is editor for Infoline, and is also editor for CSI e-newsletters and contributes monthly columns in CSI Communications. May I now request Shri Mohan, President CSI, to kindly deliver his note on address Impact of IPv6 in Networks in India.
Respected Secretary of IT, Government of Tamil Nadu, DG ARNET, Professor Srivatsan, Regional Director, of course Professor S.V. Raghavan, our mentor. Ladies and gentlemen, very good morning. IPv6, as DG ARNET was mentioning, though it sounds like a buzzword, it has been in existence for almost 14 years. But the seriousness of IPv6 has not been known to many people till 2011, when the IPv4 addresses are getting depleted so fast. The internet boom has been extremely fast during the .com years, and also the personal devices started coming in large number. So obviously the addresses become sort of short in availability. And particularly the Asia Pacific region happens to lose its sort of the quota in terms of the IP addresses much earlier than the Western countries. So that has really put us, the countries like India and the Asia Pacific region, in a very tight spot. So ultimately, it is sort of pressurizing us to move in for IPv6, the migration from IPv4 to IPv6, which happens to be a 128-bit addressing pattern, which provides close to something like 340 trillion addresses. So in fact, I think you are mentioning about just trillion, so I just added that figure 340, so that it makes some sort of a quantity is known in advance. So the trend is sort of, there is no alternative except to go in for the migration. And incidentally, the coexistence of IPv4 and IPv6, there is a one which I can say that, it is creating some amount of lethargy in our attitude. So people, once you have alternatives, the tendency is to go through the alternative path and take certain things, granted. So in fact, that is one of the reasons why the penetration of IPv6 in our country is little low. And added to that, while government initiatives have been extremely very good, like both DIT and DOT, they have set up their own agencies to take care of the migration from IPv4 to IPv6. So there has been awareness created, and government agencies, particularly the large telecom operators, they are going little slow in this aspect, and which, as per the compliance requirement, they are supposed to be completing by this middle of this year, though it is not likely to happen. I think there will be always, the extensions are always there. So I think this is the status in which the IPv6 migration is happening. And added to that, one of the major chunk of users, the enterprises, which are also likely to be affected, they are also going a little slow. The reason being the cost aspects. And also there is an issue like awareness. Awareness is not very much there. And to sort of, the bridge that gap, ERNET has come forward, and there are a few more agencies also conducting programs in the IPv6 area. The IPv6 forum in India is also very active in terms of disseminating the knowledge, and APNIC has also conducted few programs. Last year we had a program with APNIC. There has been some hands-on about the IPv6 migration, and it is happening in small pockets, and CSA in a large way is sort of come forward. CSA happens to be the largest IT association in the country with 120,000 members, and of which close to about 80,000 are from the education sector students, and they are the pillars of the IT force of coming years. And as the DG was mentioning, that the capacity building is one of the most important things, and CSA has taken some initiative in terms of imparting the IPv6 training and also some certification. So we have recently, about 2 months back, we started the IPv6 certification program, so that they will get certified, and sort of their services could be used globally. Again, the issue was OITK was discussed, so the opportunity is something close to OITK, and now with the advancements in the technology is happening, everything is becoming smart. Smart grid, smart city, smart car, almost everything is becoming smart, and Internet of Things are definitely there. And as per the Gartner study, close to about 50 billion devices are going to be connected through the internet. So which means that IP address requirement is ever growing, and there is only way that we need to migrate from IPv4 to IPv6. So this is in mind. I think this type of programs are being organized, and I had a discussion with the DG in terms of the workshops, hands-on workshops, which happens to be in the afternoon, which is going to provide facilities only for 30 in number, though a large number of people are attending the awareness workshop. So I was requesting whether the CSI could also sort of participate in this journey of educating people on IPv6, so that there is a permanent setup for the hands-on workshop facilities made available at the IT Research Park at the ERNET Center. And CSA is just to sort of stroll through distance from ERNET Center. So both of us can work together and sort of bring the awareness and also make the people skillful in this area. Before I close my address, I would like to sort of inform the audience that one of the founders of the ERNET, which has been spearheading this project, Dr. S. Ramani, who happens to be our past president also. So he has been inducted into the Internet Hall of Fame in the Global Connector under the category, and this is mainly for his achievement and contribution in setting up the EarNet facilities and also bringing the internet to India. So let us all give a big hand for his achievement. And incidentally, he happens to be the first and only Indian to be included in the Internet Hall of Fame. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your kind words. Professor Srivatsan, one of the founder members of EarNet and who has been nominated in Internet Hall of Fame, of course needs no introduction. He is director for Chinmaya Institute of Technology, Kerala, and he has been very closely associated with India's developments in bringing and spreading Internet information technology and their applications to a wide range of socio-economically relevant and technologically advanced areas over past 30 years. He is championing the link of educational institutions within the development needs through community knowledge enterprises in sectors like health, education, agriculture, rural development, and tourism and culture in each and every region. Internet access via mobile has gained so much momentum in many parts of the world that sometimes the first screen seen by a child is the cell phone. Hence, I now request Srivatsan ji to address this note on IPv6 in educational institutes. Sir.
Hari Om. Okay. Well, actually, I have a presentation and I requested Praveerji to give me a slot after in the post-T session because to get a figurative feeling is far better. IPv6 is not just one of increasing the address space or something. It's a wholly different enhanced architecture, and basically because historically IPv4, which was introduced through the TCP/IP, which was whose inventors were Vinton Cerf and Bob Kahn. In fact, Vinton Cerf was the guide of EarNet also in its formative years, and he used to tell us one thing: to do networking, you have to do everything else except networking. And likewise, I believe if you have to succeed in IPv6, you may have to do everything else than merely discussing the protocol and the mechanical aspect of it. Where it changes the paradigms of computing, and modern computing is no longer programming the systems only. We have a three-way architecture which is partly in the cloud, partly in an institution, and partly in your hands, palm tops and mobile and all. And the three have to work cohesively. And this cohesive behavior of services calls for a wholly new, much more than services-oriented architecture as we traditionally call, and how we envision such kind of killer applications which can really leverage this IPv6 with such kind of services-oriented architecture is a real challenge we have to face. And since I'm going to speak a little later, I want to listen more time and listen to the others on the days now. I would like to pause at this stage and come with my presentation later. But one thing is very clear: the best chance for education institution to spearhead the network again after the EarNet days has come through IPv6, and let us not lose an opportunity. There's a huge amount of things to be built. Education institutions should now start understanding how to collect data in an authenticated manner, how to manage big data and then manage services, etc. And there is tremendous opportunity thanks to this kind of modern networking between industry and academia to work together, as well as government. E-governance can change the way we think and implement today in a class. Even today, mentally we are still client-server oriented, even though we are not talking about SOA. How to overcome that mental handicap? For example, government thinks it is separate from governance, whereas governance is all about people. How do we bridge this kind of thing? I think IPv6 can introduce potentially new, community-oriented networks through its VPN and other things. And such community-driven networks will convert government to governance, which is what some of our politicians are currently talking. Okay, thanks, and let me listen, and I'll come back to you a little later after tea.
Thank you, sir. It is true that we need to convert government into governance. Now let's move on. Shri Thiru T.K. Ramachandran, IAS, Secretary, Information Technology, Tamil Nadu, has taken initiative to harness resources to use ICT tools to extend the benefits offered by government to the citizens and take Tamil Nadu to an incomparable position in the information technology sector in India. Hence, I call him upon stage to give address.
Good morning, everybody. Professor Raghavan, Dr. Neena Pahuja, DG Ernet, all the other respected organizers and members on the dais, Dr. Srivatsan, and Dr. Shri Mohan, and all the distinguished members in the audience. It's a great pleasure to be part of this workshop on IPv6, roadshow and workshop on IPv6. And I was very glad to see that Professor Raghavan is spearheading this along with the ERNET, and Dr. Ahuja spoke to me some days back and said I should be part of this, and Dr. Raghavan had requested that my name also be included. So I'm thankful to you for having given me this opportunity to address you. Professor Raghavan, of course, is the Bhishma Pitamaha of networks in this country, I would say that. Because even when we were students, and we were MTech students, and I almost became a research associate in Chennai before I decided to go to IIT Delhi. And I met him at that time, that was in the late 80s, 90s, early 90s. So, and of course, before I decided to join the IIS. So it's always a pleasure to come back to IIT, and I'm thankful to Dr. Raghavan for having facilitated this. I got stuck in a traffic jam outside IIT, and I then realized that it continues to be difficult to get into IIT in more ways than one, right? So on that light note, let's start off on this IPv6 business. Like Dr. Neena Pahuja put it very beautifully, the world is going to change once we get IPv6 into place. The world is already changing because of computers, because of technology, because of internet. In fact, there is not a single individual, I think, in this room who would not be connected to some network at some time in the day. And the way things are going, I think all of us will have not less than a few connections individually. And if you add all the other connections that Mr. Mohan and Dr. Srivatsan talked about, I think Internet of Things, I mean, all these things are now in the air. So there's so much more connectivity that is going to happen. So we are going to move from 32-bit to 128-bit. And so I always tell people that it's like 2 raised to 32 versus 2 raised to 128. But of course, like Dr. Srivatsan said, it's not a question of just addresses. It's much more than that. So from a billion to a billion, or like you said, trillion, whatever. The numbers are huge. So you need to be able to manage the entire network. So it's about bandwidth, it's about organizing the information. So IPv6 is maybe the next generation technology that's going to happen. And how do we need to prepare ourselves for this new wave, like they said, like the Y2K wave? This is a new wave, and how do we need to prepare ourselves for this? We have had several rounds of training within the state government. Of course, in this context, you must also recall that you have social media, you have analytics, you have big data, you have cloud computing. I don't know, in networks, when we were students, we were talking about huge mainframe computers, and we had several terminals, and I remember we used to go and work on the terminals and then go to a centralized place where we would get the printouts. And then we said, no, now let's go to PCs. So once the PCs came into being, then we went to PCs and we said, okay, we'll do PCs. And then someone said, okay, let's put all the pieces into a network and so that we can have distributed computing. We said, okay. Then now they are saying, let's go from distributed computing back to web server model, where you will have a client server model, and then you will use the server will have everything and you will use clients to access it. Okay. Then they said, okay, now let's go to a cloud model in which everything is in the cloud and you will access it. And now I'm told that open web technologies where people are saying, no, let's not have cloud, let's go back to open web technologies where you will have the clients, have some of the software loaded there, and then you don't have to be so dependent on servers. So this, since of course Dr. Srivatsan is here, so this trend from distributing to centralization, I think you just don't see it only in politics, you don't see it only in dynasties or administration, you see it I think everywhere in technology as well. So you're going from centralized to decentralized, back to centralized, so I don't know where it's going to stop. So I think it's an interesting thing, because I was having a discussion with the NIC people a few days back, and they were saying, sir, all this cloud thing is all now going out of vogue, going out of fashion. I don't know if they were speaking the next generation language, but they were saying it's all going. Why is it? Why? Because we have now open web technologies where everything we will not go back to the server again and again. And maybe people like Professor Raghavan can throw some light on this. So these are things that are happening, but what I'm saying is in this context of the huge networking that we require, huge bandwidth that we require, huge server capacities, huge storage capacities, and huge distributed networks all over the world, and we are talking to people across the globe half the time. So in this context, it becomes very important that you manage all these networks very well, and therefore, I think understanding, knowing, and getting yourself trained on IPv6 is going to become important. I'm told a lot of people in this audience are from government departments. We did a couple of, the moment I joined about 6 months back as IT secretary, BSNL approached me and said we must do an IPv6 workshop. So we have had several rounds of workshops. I'm glad to tell you that at least in the state government we've had several rounds of workshops, and in each of these workshops we've had the BSNL people coming in and telling us what we need to do. But then it's one thing to know what is needed to be done, it's another thing to do it actually. You know, we are in India. So we need to have milestones, we need to have projects, programs in place, we need to have funding, we need to have, but the first thing to do is to have training in place, because people must realize what this is all about. And like again I said, it's not just a question of addresses, it's a question of, it's a whole ecosystem. What kind of procurement happens? Is Tamil computing IPv6 compliant? We need to look at that. Is the Unicode, when you do Unicode, what repercussions does it have? What implications does it have? So a whole lot of technologies, systems, ecosystems, a whole lot of new approaches to this entire business might have to be evolved. And all this is already happening. Manufacturing will have to be told that you have to make it IPv6. Procurement and government. So we don't want a situation where you suddenly wake up one day and say, oh, I still have a 486 computer. What happened to the world? And I'm telling you, there are still people who use 486 computers for various purposes, of course. So how to build all this, bring all this into one common platform, I think is what the organizers are attempting. I'm very glad to be, as I said, part of this roadshow, because I think several more of these roadshows need to be conducted. And EARNet, again, EARNet is a pioneer in many ways. Even internet was pioneered, I think, in India by EARNet. And the IITs, of course, IITians view the world is just two-dimensional. Those who have passed JEE and who have not passed JEE. So the IITs continue to have their elitist tag, intellectual elitism, and that tag should help them to go into the fields where most people fear to tread, and that is what will keep us in good stead, and they will give us the best research, the best foot forward. We can put forward our best foot only through the help of the IITs and the technically qualified, huge technically qualified manpower that they have. And so I request all the representatives from different government institutions here to embrace IPv6 and to look at the enormous possibilities that it has in various sectors of governance, like someone said e-governance, e-government, and so on. So if you look at everywhere, if you look at governments everywhere, we are finding increasing use of IT, as you are already aware. every single sphere is being touched by IT, and governance is no exception. So whether it is accessing government services through the network, whether it's making payments, utility payments through the network, or like we are going in, recently the government has announced in the budget that we are going to have a common service center in each of the 12,000 villages, panchayats in this state. We are also going to have 200 common service centers in Chennai. We are going to have common service centers all over Tamil Nadu in all the municipal areas and the corporations. So in each of these centers, when you have this kind of facility for accessing government sites and government services, all through IT, the role of IT is going to become very, very important, and a lot of government services can be delivered through IT, as you're already aware, as you're all aware, and therefore I would exhort you to take this IPv6 very seriously and be able to tell whichever departmental head you are called upon to advise. Tell them about the importance of IPv6 and the need to get onto the IPv6 bandwagon as quickly and as efficiently as possible without further loss of time, and to put it into all your standard operating procedures, whether it's procurement or whether it's training or whether it's networking or whether it's using computers. In whichever field you are, you must stress the importance of IPv6 within your organization. So I would request the organizers to keep this the momentum going and ensure that many such workshops are conducted throughout the country and for many other departments, and I'd like to congratulate them and as well as wish them the best success in their future endeavors. Thank you again for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, sir. That was indeed very enthusiastic, and it was huge, wonderful ideas we had. Tamil Nadu is indeed where it is because of him only. Tamil Nadu is a frontrunner among the states in India in ICT-enabled governance by successfully implementing various e-governance programs of the state government and also the schemes under the NEGP. Thank you, sir. Now I request Professor S.V. Raghavanji to bless us all through VC. Professor S.V. Raghavanji needs no introduction. He is a distinguished person, talented professional, and active researcher, having more than 3 decades of rich experience in the field of teaching, research, and administration. He is currently serving as the Scientific Secretary in the Office of Principal Scientific Advisor to Government of India and is Professor in Department of Computer Science and Engineering in IIT Madras. Professor Raghavanji also chairs Technical Advisory Committee of NKN, NOFN, and DTH. Sir, and I request you to address this August gathering and bless us all.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to join ERNET at IIT Madras along with CSI, institutions which I have been associated with for several decades. The previous speakers mentioned many things about IPv6. In fact, the primary property that hits you when you talk about IPv6 is its ability to scale from a fairly small size to very big size. Of course, the requirement for scaling was elaborated extensively by Ms. Nina Pahuja, and I'm sure the talks that follow this session will elaborate on that further. I was impressed by one advertisement which I saw recently. I keep seeing it these days. This ad is by, I think, a telephone company, MTS or something, about a child which is born in the internet age. How many of you have seen this ad? It's raising very many, yeah. It uses 3 devices as it was born. As the iPad, a smartphone, and a smart PC which is sitting on the other side, knocked off by the doctor attending to the birth. And it starts off by looking at how to do things and gets into the world by looking at Google Maps. It tells you a story. The devices are going to be natural to human beings, which means you need to have some way of identifying these devices, because the entire ICT space works on the concept of being able to identify and being able to authenticate and provide services. And of course, the services themselves don't sit in one place. It becomes a ubiquitous availability. So this pervasive nature of presence of the user and the ubiquitous nature of the services and its accessibility provides lots of challenges. So when you want to get something done as human beings, so we have very little time in interaction. You ask something, you immediately want a response. You don't want to wait for a while for response. The latency, as it is called in networking. And the time available in human interaction is less than a second. You would like to see something happening. When you say, "What is your name?" you expect somebody to answer something. This time that is available, if a few milliseconds or hundreds of milliseconds, whatever, is taken by several people in networks. Those who run the telecom infrastructure, those who run the internet service provision, those who run the cloud services, those who have computer centers, those who write programs, everybody wants a piece of that cake. And the one who takes you from anywhere to anywhere, which is the IP layer, also wants a portion of it. What happened traditionally was, as things were becoming more and more complicated and spreading, the processing becomes excessive. So they wanted to compress it. One way to compress is to make standardization. You find an interesting shift from V4 to V6, other than scaling, is the regularity that is brought in the computation to understand how to process a packet. And if you look at communication, it is always half duplex and it is end-to-end. There is no communication which is, I can't have two conversations simultaneously. Both you and I cannot talk simultaneously. We talk, one of us talks and the other one listens and so on. There is an end-to-end control. So there is a natural shift of everything to end-to-end in IPv6. See, it is a more natural technology to human behavior and human requirement. So if you look at education, health, agriculture and so on, this natural mapping of technology to user behavior and user requirement space makes it all the more attractive. Of course, when you make it more closer to the user, the numbers increase by an enormous amount, which was illustrated by that ad I mentioned to you a little earlier. So two striking things, the scale of operation and the regularity in the computation makes it simpler to produce things, so that you take less amount of time to decide where to go. I'm sure talks will elaborate on MTU sizes, how the end-to-end spreads takes place, how this was decided, and from 92 how the deliberations have converged on something tangible in the RFCs and so on. It will be part of the deliberations during the day, I guess, and then some demos will take place. This is the most interesting part. If you have Internet of Things on one side and the natural user requirements and user behavior on the other side, and if you need a technology to link these two naturally, irrespective of where the person is, what is their literacy level, what is the gadget they are using and so on, you have a natural mapping in IPv6. That makes it very important and popular. The second thing is we are seeing a transformation that is taking place in usage of these large systems of late. The two, one is the integration of the what is called a referral chain in health. from public health center to tertiary care in a super specialty hospital. They don't have to walk through everything, but they can electronically interconnect and do some elaborate study across. With the person at the super specialty or without a person or a program on that side. So people are working on human simulator on one side and the diagnostic dome on the other side, which diagnostic dome you can imagine is a replacement for public health center. It's an automatic thing. So you walk in and walk out. A sick person walks out as a healthy person. You can imagine that. So from health, human simulator will tell you what are the pros and cons of doing something, and the diagnostic dome will help you to administer that thing. This involves a huge amount of computation, huge amount of interplay of things, huge transfer of images, everything is huge about this. Now the transfers have to take place and synergy has to be brought in and solutions have to be brought out, and you still have to play with the same sub-second interaction time that you are left with. That's the kind of challenge that we see in the world today. The second one that is happening is in terms of education and its spread. You must have listened to many conversations, many talks about inclusive and gender-free access to things. Like Ramchandran was mentioning that getting into IIT is difficult. Getting lessons out of IIT is going to be very easy. It will go out through NCAN, it will go out through any network, it will go out through DTH, NOF and whatever, wherever you want. So making the society an educated society, well-informed society also requires that you have all these gadgets working for you. When technology works for you, maturity of a highest order is expected. Now IPv4 dot addresses, forgetting this domain names, too many technical terms are being talked about in computer-related conferences. We must reach a level where we shift it to saying, I'm looking at solution to the problem. Like today, if I go to buy a car, I talk about the convenience of using the car and driving the car, and not about engine efficiency and the like. I shift the whole technology discussion to cost of affording it. So I ask for a car where I can open the door and walk out after a head-on collision. I should be willing to pay 1 crore of rupees. If I'm willing to take the risk, I pay 1 lakh or 2. Both will take me places. This technology is on the maturity level where it goes from going places to the highest level of maturity that is possible. And this is an infrastructure. The entire IPv6 that we talk about is an infrastructure. Infrastructure has to be reliable, available, and robust. If these three are not there, nobody is going to have their life depend on it. So coming from this side, people want to use it. The usage has spread enormously, and there is expectation. And this infrastructure has to become reliable, available, and robust. And IPv6 plays a central role in this by taking minimum amount of time to do what traditionally used to take several milliseconds. That's a paradigm change that is happening in IPv6. Less time, more reliability, more reachability, more comfort, more robustness, more availability are going to be the hallmark of deciding whether an ICT space that is created around you is acceptable to you or not. You will soon come away from saying, I am connected to provider X or Y. You will not know whom you are connected to. You will only say, I am using some service. You will not even know who is providing that service. And you are willing to pay for the service that helps you. That's what I'm saying. The user behavior, the user expectation, and the transformation that has already taken place in the human beings. We are watching it in a unitary service called mobile phone call. But that is going to become pervasive, involving all types of media and all walks of life and all sectors of economy that we go through day in and day out. I thought I'll bring this to your attention as the real reason why IPv6 requires awareness creation and a roadshow of the kind that EarNet is doing. Why is it so important, and why is it important for us to understand what tomorrow's world looks like? We are the baby that is born for the internet. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. It was really very enthusiastic. Now I call upon Shri Praveen Mishra, Additional Director, EarNet India, to kindly deliver the vote of thanks. Mr. Praveen Mishra has more than 18 years of experience in security audit, new technologies integration and strategic alliance, infrastructure management, cloud and virtual technologies, and has been very closely involved in countries' IPv6 initiatives. Now I call upon Sir to address us all.
Good morning, everybody. Respected Professor Raghavan, Professor Srivatsan, Sri Ramachandran, Dr. Neena Pahuja, esteemed delegates, distinguished guests, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. It's my privilege and honor to meet all of you here. And Professor Raghavan, I've been seeing many of your ideas and initiatives, reading those. So this particular event is more, I would say, unique in a way that two people, Professor Srivatsan and Professor Raghavan, who had been associated with EarNet right from its concept stage, are present as part of this August gathering. So I thank all of you for having spared the time on this important IPv6 initiative that EarNet has launched. And gone are the days when it was a pleasant delight to see a username coming on your screen for connectivity due to the different initiatives with the vision of Professor Raghavan as part of the NKN, the NME ICT, and the NOFN, which is taking fiber to the villages. There has been a lot of technological improvements gone into bringing network and internet connectivity to almost every person and every nook and corner of the country. So all these schemes are actually due to the active vision of Professor Raghavan. But when you talk about all these networks and high-speed networks and all coming in play, the amount of devices that are going to be connected onto it for making a real use of these high-speed networks and the type of applications that are expected to be running on these to have the true Internet of Things that other speakers have also mentioned. The number of IP addresses that you would be needing would be very high. So probably that is where IPv4, which was supposed to be a very good protocol, a very good technology, and which has been the cause of the exponential rise of networking as well as internet, has come to a stage where the good things about IPv4 has somehow hampered the growth of networks due to its resource crunch, or you say the availability of IPv4. And that is where I think there is a need for people to be moving on to IPv6 so that the growth of the internet or the sustenance of the internet as well as for networking continues for the benefit of mankind, which probably internet promises or networking promises, and which we have seen as part of the e-governance initiatives on the governmental side or other technologies that we have seen Everyone uses mobile devices. Now those have converted into smartphones with a lot and lot of applications. There are a lot of sectors that network and IPv6 can cater to, which includes your health domain, education domain, like many of the speakers here said. And so to realize this dream of bringing these technologies and these applications to serving as this thing like a teleconsultancy or any of those things, I think that is where one needs to embrace IPv6. IPv6 is not only about the exhaustion of IPv4 addresses or the non-availability of IPv4 addresses. It's also about bringing in an era of new network or new network technology. If that would not have been the case, the US, which has abundance of IPv4 today, I think it is almost like 50% of the IPv4 addresses still remain with the US. And almost like half of them, they are not even being advertised on the internet, could sustain the network and the internet of US for the next decade or more. But you would be surprised to know that US is one of the largest user of IPv6 today. This is due to the fact that IPv6 brings in a new network technology, which probably one needs to be geared up in the form of capacity building, in the form of using it to get exposed to it, and should be ready with the challenges that the network of the future would be bringing up. And obviously, with every technology, there are challenges, and that is where EarNet has taken up the role of providing consultancy, project management, implementation, and of course with a focus on capacity building. In this workshop also, I think we have kept in mind that we should be able to provide hands-on training to expose people and bring in confidence into them to embrace IPv6. And when they go back into their organizations, they should be able to motivate others to the use of IPv6. With these words, I would like to thank all the participants here, and especially my team here who had been working overtime to see that probably the event goes off well, and IPv6 promotion and propagation, people are motivated to use it. Thank you all very much for being here, and my special thanks to Wipro who had been supporting this event out here. Thank you very much.